Hey guys, Paigesugarbutts here and welcome back to another video. Today I just wanted to make a random video about a video game that I've been obsessed with for like years, and it's a game that never even came out. This game is called Thrill Kill and was originally supposed to come out in 1998 on the original PlayStation, and ever since I've heard about this game I've been obsessed because I've always been a huge Mortal Kombat fan and just like violent video games in general because I'm cool like that. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, Thrill Kill was originally supposed to come out in 1998. It was supposed to be super violent, just like Mortal Kombat. In fact, they were literally trying to get an adults-only rating until they didn't, because then they realized like they couldn't sell it like anywhere because so many stores like didn't want to sell adult-only games. So yeah, today we're going to talk about Thrill Kill. So originally this game was supposed to be like an Aztec like sports game, which like would have been pretty cool, and it, you know, they wanted to incorporate like some violence into it because obviously the Aztecs were pretty violent. So it was going to be like this violent like sports game on the PS1. But throughout the development of the game, they kept just being like more violence, more violence, more violence. Like they kept telling the developers like we need more violence. And so eventually the game just like changed completely from this Aztec game to just like this insane crazy violent game. So they literally gave like the developers of the game like some BDSM magazines and stuff like that, and we're just like, this is your inspiration, this is the game we're going to be making. And yeah, that's how Thrill Kill really came about, because they wanted to focus just more on the fighting and the violence instead of like the sports and the Aztec and stuff like that. And yeah, that's how we started to get the development of Thrill Kill. And of course they wanted to do this because Mortal Kombat, like I said, was super popular at the time, super controversial, and they wanted to get, you know, that kind of satisfaction too, like, hey, we can make a super violent video game, because obviously when you tell people not to play a super violent video game, they're gonna play a super violent video game. So yeah, like I said, the development of the game completely changed. It was more like this BDSM type thing, and it was based in hell, where all of these fighters were fighting in hell. Super violent, super crazy, and yeah, it just like completely changed, and the development took over from there. So yeah, the developers were pouring all their hearts and souls into this game to make it the absolute best it could be. And honestly, it's just so cool because they wanted to make this the first ever 3D up to 4 fighters in the game at the same time, which was like unheard of at the time. I mean, this was like 1998, you know, original PlayStation. Like, you'd have your fighting games, but having 4 players that you could play as was just like so unheard of at the time, especially for a 3D fighter. And it was just really cool. The concept was really, really awesome. And like I said, they were all fighting in hell and trying to get their opportunity to not be in hell. But we'll get to that. But yeah, another unique thing about this game was not only were you able to have up to 4 fighters fighting at once, but also the fact that the health bar wasn't normal. Like in most fighting games, you know, you beat the shit out of somebody until their health bar went down, but Thrill Kill was a lot different. What they did was you would basically beat the crap out of everybody, and whoever beat the crap the most won. And by that I mean there was a kill meter. So basically you would want to do the most damage possible, so that way you could fill up your meter, and then at that point the person that filled their meter the most would have the opportunity to do a thrill kill, and that's how you would take your opponents out until, you know, 3 fighters left, 2 fighters left, 1 fighter left, and whoever does the last thrill kill is the winner. Which is like honestly such a cool concept. Like, it's so cool to like just mix it up completely like that. I just thought so amazing, and that was just one of the many reasons I became obsessed with this game, because it was just so unique, so violent. The characters were just super cool, which we're going to get into them as well, and just amazing. However, unfortunately, the developers were obviously working on this game, making it super violent, sexualized, all that, but at the very last minute the game was literally complete, like completely complete. It was ready to go out, and they canceled it at the last minute and didn't even tell anybody. The developers literally found out through like magazines and stuff that like Thrill Kill was canceled, which is just so tragic, especially considering the game was literally complete. But they were just too scared to put the game out because it was EA, and they didn't want to tarnish their image with like this hyper violent, hyper sexualized video game, and so they just pulled the plug, even though there were plenty of other developers that were willing to take the game as well, which is just like such a bummer. It's like, bro, if you don't want it, give it to somebody else. But you know, that's EA for you. And that there was basically the death of Thrill Kill, except not really, because the developers were awesome and they put it online. So you could literally go online and like burn it onto a disc, and if you have like a modded PS1, you could play this, and you could even play it on your PC. And yeah, I'm just so grateful that there is still a way to play this game, because like what a waste. Like, this is just a huge part of gaming history, and it would have been just such a waste for this game to like not even get the opportunity to be played. But yeah, that's what happened with Thrill Kill, and like I said, it's such a bummer, but I am glad that people still have the opportunity to play this game, and you could literally buy bootleg copies online, and it's awesome. And weirdly enough, this wasn't the end of Thrill Kill, and it was actually made into a Wu-Tang Clan video game. Yes, the rap group. It was just like redeveloped into a fighting game, which is kind of nuts. So yeah, this game definitely has had a crazy history. But anyway, that was kind of the bumpy road of like what this game has went through. But now I kind of want to talk about the super awesome characters in the game, because they are just fucking awesome. Like I said, they were just like BDSM inspired and just like freaky looking. And like I said, the story of this game basically is like any violent video game story. They were all sent to hell for doing bad stuff, and they have the opportunity to fight to the death in order to, you know, get back on Earth, which is just like a fantastic idea. Why not get the most violent person ever who's killed everybody else in hell in this tournament and give them another chance at life? So yeah, basically this demon called Maruka, it brings all 10 of these fighters together and is just like, yeah, you guys fight to the death for your opportunity to be reincarnated, which is just like wild. But yeah, it's awesome. So as I just said, there were 10 characters that you could play as, but there were like a whole bunch of different skins and costumes, which was super awesome and just made the battles a little more diverse, even though there wasn't that many characters. But they were so like unique and individual. Like, these characters were just awesome and just weird. So yeah. So first was Belladonna, which was basically a dominatrix that murdered her husband after figuring out that he had an affair with her. And that's what happened with her. She's definitely one of the most popular characters, and she's honestly one of my favorites. She's just badass and just like crazy and has some crazy moves and just does this crazy sexual shit. And, you know, she's just a over-sexualized female character, because you need that in every, you know, fighting game, of course. Next up was Kane, who was basically trapped and was burned alive on fire, but like survived. Like I said, some of these stories are just like kind of crazy. Some of the backstories I don't even completely understand, just because, I don't know, they were just weird. But yeah, that's Kane's backstory. He was like burned alive, but like survived. Yeah. Next was Cletus, who was just like freaking insane and is a cannibal and would make his victims into sausages. So yum. Dr. Faustus was a plastic surgeon that basically did these cruel experiments on his patients and then eventually on himself, where he put like a bear trap basically on his mouth, which like got infected and killed him, because of course it did. Why would you do that? And that's how he died. Imp is like such a funny character, and he makes no sense because he's just like upset and hates tall people because he's short. That's like literally his whole backstory. Just like, I'm angry that I'm short. It's just wild. I mean, I'm short too, buddy, but you know, I don't hate every tall person, so. And the same with Judas. It's just like a conjoined twin that like killed his mother at birth, but it like wasn't their fault because they were just like born that way. So that story is kind of crazy. But yeah, it's two conjoined twins, and as their mother was giving birth, obviously there were complications, because of course there would be. And that's what happens there. The Mammoth is basically a postal delivery guy that one day transforms into this big ass like hairless gorilla guy and just goes nuts. Again, his story doesn't make much sense either, but I guess they just really wanted to put a big gorilla dude in the game, and so that's what they did. Oddball is like this FBI behavioral analysis that just basically went crazy one day and just went nuts. Like, he was just like pretty normal and then just turns into a serial killer and is like in a straitjacket and all that. So, don't know what happened there, but yeah, he kind of went nuts. I guess all that FBI stuff would eventually get to you. I don't know. The Tormentor, who is like also one of my favorite characters, he was basically a judge, and like if he didn't think that somebody's punishment was like, you know, fit enough for that criminal, he would literally just like kidnap them and torture them himself, which is like really fucking awesome. And I don't know if this is best up to say, but I feel like we kind of need that sometimes, because like some really bad people get away with some really bad stuff, and like for there to be a judge like out there just like taking it into his own hands, like good on you, Tormentor. It's not exactly right, but like good on you. And lastly is Violet, which is the also other super sexualized female. She's a contortionist, because of course she is, and she was a contortionist in the circus, and she didn't like the way that men treat her and abused her, so she killed them, as you would and should. But yeah, that's Violet. But yeah, that's the characters. Like I said, they are just all super wacky. Some of them don't really make sense, but they don't need to, just because they have these crazy gimmicks and just look super cool. And I just love every single one of the characters in their own ways. They're just so wacky, and you want that in a good fighting game. You just want these super wacky characters, especially when you have like people fighting to death in hell and stuff like that. It's like, how can you not make these super crazy characters? Like I said, Thrill Kill sadly got lost to time, and like it just really sucks. Like it would just be like so cool to have like a remaster of this game or something, but I just don't ever see them doing it, even though video games are way more violent nowadays. Like honestly, back then, like the game isn't really even that bad considering how bad games can be now. So it's just like really sad, because I feel like this game had so much potential, and it's just like really sad to just see it go to waste. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, because I think Thrill Kill is fucking awesome, and it's just, it still sticks out to me to this day. I mean, it was supposed to come out in 1998, and here I am over 20 years later just still being like, damn, Thrill Kill, what a shame. And I plan on making another video about Thrill Kill in the future too, about some of the different endings to the game and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But yeah, that's my video on Thrill Kill today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.